Talk for the rest of us. This is Stand Up with Pete Dominic. From the POTUS studios in New York, this is Pete Dominic.
We're back, everybody, with a guest now that I've been looking forward to meeting and hoping I would meet and at some point have the opportunity to interview for a long time. Most of you know I'm a stand-up comedian, got into political talk discussion over a year and a half ago, and one of my big influences was my guest. After watching a movie called Bowling for Columbine, my life kind of changed and took a different direction. He's a documentary filmmaker that not only made that movie, but Roger and Me, Fahrenheit 9/11, Sicko, and his new movie, Capitalism, a love story, which comes out in Los Angeles and New York. You've heard me talk about capitalism and what the problems are in the show. Now we all need to go see this movie. Michael Moore, welcome to our show, and really excited to have you here.
Oh, Pete, thanks for that introduction. I didn't realize our connection, so I'm really glad you're doing this.
I think that you inspired a lot of people with your movies. I think you've been called all the worst names, and you have as many haters as anybody, but I've never really quite understood a lot of that, frankly. I've found myself defending you countless times, and I've looked up all the Michael Moore lies websites and everything, and I know that you've offered $10,000 if someone can prove a lie, right?
Yeah, they can't. Every fact in my film is true. They're always true. What drives them crazy is they don't like my opinions. My opinions are my own.
Right.
And I could be right or wrong.
Right.
I think I'm right, but I may not be. You know, that's what drives them crazy.
Well, give me a fact in Capitalism that you think, Capitalism, a love story, your new documentary, that you think people might want to challenge, might want to. And furthermore, when it comes to numbers like this, can we sometimes spin it different ways? I mean, is it hard to say something's just a fact when it comes to, finance?
Some things are just facts. The sun does rise in the east.
Let me think about that. Let me Google that. Hold on.
If I said it rose in the west, I think that would not be true. Today, there will be about 14,000 people across America who will lose their health insurance. That's a fact. Today, there will be a foreclosure filing in America once every 7.5 seconds. That's a fact. Now, what I choose to do with these facts is to basically say, here's what I think we need to do, or here's why I think this is happening. And, people on the other side of the political fence are upset because, I'm one of the few people probably on the left who's really reached into a mainstream audience. I mean, I have a wide mainstream audience. My stuff isn't just heard by the church.
You won an Academy Award. That doesn't get any more mainstream than that, really.
Right. Jay Leno asked me to be on the second night of his new show.
Right.
I mean, that happens because, first of all, because, Jay's a decent guy, but I think that, that there are millions and millions of people who've come to, believe what I believe, and I believe what they believe. I mean, it wasn't true maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but now, we saw with the election last November, we see 60 Democratic seats in the Senate, that clearly the country has shifted.
But I don't always subscribe to, I certainly don't subscribe to the political party idea. I'm way to the left on most issues, but at the same time, I think it's weird that we put issues in a political spectrum in one direction, left or right. I mean, we can look at all your movies. Was Roger and Me a leftist movie? Was Fahrenheit 9/11?
No.
No, they were prescient movies. They was Sicko.
Right.
I mean, you could, if you want to talk about, I think we always need to talk about what your morals are, what your values are. I mean, we have an argument in this country about health care, whether or not people have the right to have health care. Most countries believe that to be true. Here we're having a debate about that. You and I agree that they do have a right, but we can talk about the movie and what you documented in Sicko and look at that. I mean, I don't know why.
I think
morally we fall on different sides in this country, but politically it's...
Yeah, but I get pigeonholed in part because, I mean, I've never been a member of the Democratic Party. I'm just saying that...
Another reason I like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to really belong to any party.
Me too. I want to be able to think freely.
Right? And I want to make my movies, and you've seen this movie, and I go after Democrats and Republicans in this movie. Well, I agree with what you just said. I think that these are not We should not make these partisan issues. The fact that we have this many foreclosures or this many people without health insurance, I'm trying to say that no matter what your political persuasion is, we are all in the same boat. Right. We sink or swim together.
We could talk for hours about every issue. Let's focus, though, on this Capitalism is a Love Story, the movie. My problem with capitalism, my big problem, is when you profit off something that it's inherently wrong to have for-profit prisons and in my opinion, for-profit health insurance. Those are just two of many. When you have a profit incentive to put people in prison or to deny people health care, those are just a couple of the problems with capitalism. You have to draw the line somewhere.
Right, exactly. And
that's why we have nonprofit organizations, so they don't have the incentive, perhaps, right?
Right. There are some things that we should not ever discuss profit. Because it cuts right down to our basic moral values. If you saw somebody hit by a car in the middle of the street, you would never stop to say to yourself, what's the profit for me going and helping that person? What kind of money can I make? I mean, we wouldn't do that.
Some people would.
Oh, no. Really? Some people would?
Sure.
Yeah. Well,
you don't think so? You don't think there's people out there?
Well, I guess
you have more faith in humanity than I do.
I'm a bit of an optimist.
I am too, but I just think. Moving on. I don't want to get stuck on that.
Yeah.
But folks, go to Mike's website, michaelmoore.com, to find out where the movie's playing. Opens in New York and L.A. today. What's the alternative? Everybody wants to know. I mean, I like to think we can go back to what we used to have in this country in terms of the way. I'll never forget Paul Krugman's column where he said banking should be boring.
Right.
And not have all these tools where we can rape society and take everybody's their retirements. That's crazy to me that we live in a country where people just lost their whole retirement.
No, it's almost criminal. You're right. We need to go back to some very basic. We don't have to reinvent a wheel here. We just need to go back to some basic democratic values, small d democratic, and a moral code that says, if I do this in my business, is it right? Is it for the greater good, or does it hurt people? Does this exploit people? And if it does, I shouldn't do this.
If greed is a natural thing,
and it is,
then don't we need regulations to prevent that?
Of course. I mean, as humans, over the years, we've structured ourselves because we know we have these kind of darker instincts toward violence, greed, sex with anything that walks. Basically.
I know all about that. Yes, as a matter of fact.
And so we put certain rules on ourselves so we can function as a society.
Right.
And we've taken the rules away from Wall Street, and we've let them just run rampant. And as much as they've talked about since the crash last year, how we just need more regulations, here we are a year later, not a single new regulation on these guys.
See, that's my problem with President Obama. My main problem with him is Larry Summers, his economic advisor, who I believe is one of the architects of.
He is one of the architects.
And for the life of me, I can't understand why he's there. But President Obama went down to Wall Street last week and he scolded them, and so it seems like his moral compass is in the right place. But I joked about on the show, these guys were looking at him and laughing as the Dow went up. Like, they don't care what the president or anybody says to them. They're always going to find ways, as you talk about in the movie, they're getting the smartest brains in Wall Street. And this is, by the way, it's not a political thing. It's Wall Street. It's those who make money.
It's only about the money.
Right. So if we don't make rules against what they're allowed to do, they're always going to do what's legal and exploit those loopholes. And as you said, they've got the smartest people able to.
They get our top physicists, mathematicians, and engineers. What are physicists and engineers doing on Wall Street? Well, they're helping them create these really exotic, crazy schemes, these betting scams, essentially. And we should have those guys, building bullet trains to get us from New York to L.A. in 10 hours. We should have our top scientists finding the cure for cancer. Instead, they're down on Wall Street. It's hurting us. It's destructive.
To me, when you look at what Israel's doing with the electric car and the battery, what China's going to do, they're way ahead of us.
They're way ahead.
We're sitting here, we're still debating whether or not the global warming is happening, which is insane to me.
I know.
But they're going to be way ahead of us. We're losing.
China has built, I believe the statistic I saw was 9 subway systems in 9 cities in the last 6 years. I mean,